the mantra that's included in the music of the trailer, I think it's missing the last two lines of the original chant. He's so cute! Look at his cheeks! This has gotta be a baby Buddha, judging by the long earlobes, the prayer beads, and the dots on his forehead. And because of the watermelons, I think this is Mileful. Game Science has dropped the final gameplay trailer for their upcoming action RPG Black Myth Wukong, and it is jam-packed. So we're going to break it down. As always, I'm going to highlight stuff that stood out to me, and of course any discussions on theories is just speculation. Before I even get into specific characters in the trailer, I want to talk about the music. First of all, it's a banger, but what I want to discuss is they've layered in an actual Buddhist chant into the track. I'm not a Buddhist, so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but as I understand it, this is the Wangshen Zhou, or the Rebirth Mantra. Reciting this mantra is believed to grant you a peaceful life, but it is also apparently a mantra for the afterlife that can be used to save the dead by eliminating sins and bad karma that comes from killing, stealing, lying, lust, greed, etc. And where have we heard someone encouraging all of those vices before? That's right, Huang Mei, aka Yellow Brow, in the Unreal Engine 5 gameplay video, literally tells us to embrace our baser instincts. As a refresher, Yellow Brow in Journey to the West is a servant of the bodhisattva Mileful. When his master was away, Yellow Brow escaped to strike out on his own and become his own boss. He creates a fake Leiying temple, which we see in the 2021 video, and impersonates the bodhisattva while his minions disguise themselves as Buddha's followers. And we saw he actually makes an appearance in this final gameplay trailer too. In Journey to the West, Yellow Brow captures Sun Wukong inside golden symbols. I'm not 100% sure if that's what's happening in the trailer, but it does look like the player character is holding onto his staff to avoid being sucked into something. Mileful also makes an appearance in this final gameplay trailer as this adorable cherub-cheeked baby eating watermelon. The fruit choice is intentional. In Journey to the West, Mileful tells Sun Wukong to transform into a watermelon. Yellow Brow then eats the watermelon. Once Sun Wukong is inside his stomach, he starts causing him immense pain from within and finally gets him to submit to his master. But going back to the Rebirth Mantra, aside from being reborn and entering Buddha's Pure Land, I read that the mantra serves to pull out the fundamental cause of karmic obstacles. But some people say that if you're bound into this cycle of reincarnation, you cannot be freed, cannot achieve enlightenment, and cannot be reborn. This is interesting to me because the UE 5 trailer notably ends with Yellow Brow saying this line. Basically, he's saying once you enter this cycle of reincarnation, don't even think about achieving nirvana easily again. The English subs aren't exactly 100, but notice how it says this time. So what previous time is he referring to? If we go back to the source material, Sun Wukong achieved enlightenment at the end, which means he's no longer bound by the cycle of reincarnation. In my theory video from years ago, I thought the player character was Wukong's shadow self, a piece of him with all of his vices that he had to cast off in order to achieve enlightenment, whether that's represented as the six-eared macaque or a clone or the destined one. More recently, I discussed my meta theory that the game is essentially one big karmic cycle where all of us players are in a multiverse situation trying to fix all the errors of the past, and it just repeats again and again until someone is successful. So the inclusion of the Rebirth Mantra seems very poignant and intentional to me, because if we're keeping with my theory, it does seem to suggest we are in fact stuck in a karmic cycle, alongside a bunch of other characters who are also stuck, likely because of Wukong's actions in the original Journey to the West, and we all have to break out while fending off these enemies like Yellow Brow, who seem to have a vested interest in keeping us in the cycle. Also, the mantra that's included in the music of the trailer, I think it's missing the last two lines of the original chant.
Amirito,
I couldn't find a really good word-for-word translation to verify for myself, especially because the original is in Sanskrit, but apparently the last two lines translates to the following. O sound of the drum of immortality, realizing benefit for all. O he who destroys all karmic afflictions. Hail. So assuming I'm not mishearing the backing track, it feels like leaving out the full thing was also intentional. Because it's not a long mantra at all, it's quite short. Given that one of the purposes of this mantra is to uproot our karmic obstacles, which make it harder for us to uphold our faith, it's kind of suggesting to me either it's referring to Sun Wukong perhaps not actually getting rid of all of his karmic debt, or is it referring to us as the destined one who is on the precipice of making the choice to continue doing whatever the heck we want, or actually doing what's right and what needs to be done to get rid of our karmic debt and break out of that cycle. So the fact that it's incomplete in the music in the trailer just really sticks out to me. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Moving on, this trailer overwhelmingly focuses on transformations. We've seen some transformations before in previous video drops, but this mechanic is really front and center now, and we got some more clues on how it'll work, which I'll get into in a little bit. As I understand it, there is only one weapon type that our player character can use, which is the staff. This is canonically the correct weapon for the Monkey King and within the context of Journey to the West. However, I can imagine some players may not be used to being locked into a single weapon type, so transformations are a great way to add more complexity and variety to combat. This way, fans aren't always locked into a staff, but we're still being authentic to the source material. The first enemy encounter in the trailer we see is the Fireblade Wolf. It appears the player character has just defeated him and is now taking his weapon. You may recall this wolf was featured in the very first gameplay video for Black Myth from 2020, 4 years ago. I can't believe the game is actually almost here. Comparing the two scenes, the newer version of course looks more epic and cinematic even, but both still have the player character shrinking the staff down and then storing it in his ear. This is exactly how Sun Wukong stored his staff, the Ruyi Qinggu Bang, and in the following scene we transform into the wolf and can use the Fireblade to set enemies ablaze. So it seems like the way we acquire new transformations is to simply defeat the enemy and take their weapon, but I don't think it's an available option for all enemies we'll encounter. Like, imagine fighting a rat and transforming into a giant dragon because you happened to defeat one yesterday. That would be kind of overpowered and overkill. But later on in the trailer, we also see when we defeat this blue Yao Guai with the big head, he disintegrates into ash and leaves behind what I can only assume is his soul essence, which we then capture in a gourd. When I first watched it, I thought, oh, maybe this is a way we acquire transformations for creatures that don't have physical weapons. But on second thought, I think this must be an upgrade material, since in a lot of Chinese fantasies, you can increase your own powers and spiritual cultivation levels by consuming other things. This is why all the Yao Guai wanted to eat the monk in Journey to the West. I counted at least 15 transformations in this trailer alone, and if we add the transformations we've seen in previous trailers, such as the cicada, the bat, the white ape, we're at about 20. Sun Wukong had 72 transformations in Journey to the West, and while this doesn't literally mean 72, just means a lot, it's still a number. The fact that we've seen 20 transformations in trailers and the game isn't even out yet, I feel like there's a good chance that there will actually be 72 transformations. It seems very doable. Aside from the transformations, there's an insane amount of characters packed into this video. So this next portion is just going to be my rapid stream of consciousness reaction and comments to the ones that drew my eye. Oh, that's new. I am Groot. We've seen these statues before. This big Buddha is the one at Lei Ying Temple. Is this the mama spider from the spider cutscene video that was released? I am deathly afraid of spiders, so I completely approve of killing it with fire. Ew, spider eggs too. Ooh, Oh, this is interesting. This looks to be a Chinese furnace, and I think this creature is making a dan. This spherical ball is basically a pill created through refining materials through Chinese alchemy, and it's like a concentrated elixir that was thought to provide immortality or serve as potent medicine. This person looks wise, and he's got a giant gourd on his back. I don't know who this is, so I'm gonna call him Gourd Grandpa. Maybe he's the one who teaches the player character how to suck up souls into the gourd. Spider Sis! Oh, she's so beautiful. I kind of want to try to do a cosplay of her. Who dat? He's very handsome. I do love men in handful. I've been watching a lot of Chinese dramas, okay? Don't come for me. And we're capturing soul essence? I actually don't even know if that's what this is, but I'm wondering if we'll later refine this into dan that we consume to increase our own powers. Perhaps the old man from earlier with the gourd on his back, Gourd Grandpa, will teach us how. This tiger has a very long neck, a swan neck. Interesting that we can also transform into vegetation, stealth mode.
You didn't see anything, right?
This looks like a furnace, and stuff is coming out of our gourd. So yeah, maybe we will get to perform some Chinese alchemy with the souls of the enemies we defeat. Ending with the 四大天王, 4 heavenly kings again. This is an interesting choice. One, because they've been in a couple Black Myth trailers already. And 2, Wukong defeated them pretty easily in the novel. I will say it's really cool to see how good they look up close. The detail, the saturation of the color of their skin and armor, whereas previously they were a bit more shadowed. This game is definitely a visual feast. Oh hey, it's the Gourd Grandpa. I was really hoping for a story trailer or some kind of video with more cutscenes and dialogue, but it's mostly another rapid montage of gameplay and enemies. I do appreciate this short scene at the end where we're sitting with Gourd Grandpa while a rather animated and aggressive enemy tries to break in with no success. I believe this is a callback to the circle that Wukong would draw around his master, the monk, to protect him. Wukong would tell him not to step outside the ring and that as long as he stayed inside, he'd be safe. Of course, he didn't listen. I also don't like people telling me what to do. I give the orders around here. This could be symbolic for a couple things. For example, perhaps it's telling us as players to focus on the game in and of itself and experience it on our own without letting outside voices, the media, or certain interest groups color our judgment. Or perhaps the screaming monkey represents the players clamoring to get into the game and the devs are telling us to calm the down until release. I'd also be remiss if I didn't gush about the visuals some more. Absolutely beautiful. And all of this was captured from the actual PC version in 4K. Low-key more HD than my eyesight. But it's not just pretty for the sake of beauty. These are actual structures that exist in China that the devs scanned and implemented into the game. And I really appreciate this because what this does is it essentially grounds the fantasy into reality by integrating real physical structures that exist today. So even through the environment and ambiance, I feel like the devs are perhaps subliminally conveying the message that this Black Myth story could very well be the true one for Journey to the West. Anyways, while this newest gameplay trailer was marked as final, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a launch video as well. I personally think there's gotta be another one for the August 20th launch. Perhaps that one will be a CG trailer or more story focused, so I'm crossing my fingers for that. In the meantime, if you missed my last videos on Black Myth Wukong covering previous trailers, backstory, lore, and theories, I'll link the playlist in the top corner and in the description box below if you want to check those out. And subscribe if you're the destined one.